and Valjin just watched her. She didn't look alright to him. You'll sit, I'll come back quickly, her brother said, and she looked at him. Opa, I want to be alone for some time, she said as he just stared at her for a while. I'm not leaving you alone. He uttered back and she looked at him and as her eyes filled with tears. You can't leave me alone, she asked and he sighed walking near her. Because you say something and want something. You say you want to be alone, but you actually don't want to be. I'm your brother, I know you, he said as a tear slid from her eyes as he wiped it gently. You were like this from childhood. Didn't change a bit, he said, kissing her head. She hugged him while sniffing as her brother sighed as his eyes are also glistening seeing her condition. Only you understand me, no one, she muttered and he smiled a little. Isn't it obvious? Because I'm your brother. I see you growing up. I held you in my arms when you were just born. He uttered, kissing her head. Then she sobbed, clutching him tightly. It's hurting, Opa, she muttered. How can he give up so easily? She sobbed. I can't give up on her, Mom. I still want her. I need her to live. Mom, I don't know how to live without her. Shh, don't say like that, Jungkook. When you did become this weak? She's just a girl. When did she become this much important to you? She's really important to me, Mom. You don't have any idea. She's my everything. I can't live without her, Mom. I will go crazy, he sobbed, and her mother shook her head, looking at him in pain. She looked at his father, who was standing looking at his son in tears because he never seen him like this before. He has never seen him going this weak and crying like this before. It's hurting them to their core as she was kissing his head. Why she hates me this much, Mom? I am guilty for everything I did, but all I wanted to love by her. But I can't say her to stay with me, even if I want. He sobbed. I never wanted her to let go. He just let me go, Oppa. This is what we call love. She sobbed and her brother kissed her hair. I know I am stupid, idiot, crazy, I'm bad. I did wrong, what should I do? No one knows how much it's hurted me after knowing that most my favorite person did this to me. She complained, crying. This is not how you love. You broke me first before loving me. I just don't know what to do. I can't go back to him. I wish I could. She said, crying, and her brother just let her pain out. I wish I go back and scold him to his core. Hey, you Mr. John Jungkook, how dare you to do this to me? You love me, so you should earn me. She complained, and her brother sighed, smiling a little, looking at her. You are confused, fine. First, you have to be clear with your feelings. What you actually want, he said, and she looked up with her red teary eyes. I want that mask man, Jungkook, not this one, she said, and he stared at her unbelievably. He was too sweet, and this one is so rude at times, too stubborn and too egoistic, she said, wiping her tears which she coming out their own. Both are different, he asked, and she nodded vigorously, and he sighed. I want to talk to him, Opa. He could have talked to me at least, she said. You didn't give him a chance, he said, sighing, and she looked up. I did what, as a brother, I thought was right, but what he did to save you, I can't thank him enough. He didn't think twice before jumping into that cold river, he said, making her more cry, covering her face. That's why I hate him, she cried, badly sobbing. He could have let me die. Why he saved me to see me suffering? She cried and her brother stared. Fine, I told you many times, don't say it. Now I'm warning you, don't you dare to say this again, he said, and she looked at him helpless. Then what should I do? She asked, crying. If you ask for it, then be on it. If you don't want it, be on it. Stick to one thing, and you have to make one decision, he said, and she just listened him. I can't decide. Her voice muffled with tears, and her brother just stared at her. Then divorce him. That's good for you, he said out of blue as making her tears slide from her eyes. Go and fresh and forget about everything. I'm making dinner for you, he said getting up, and she just held her tears hard. As he walked out of room and she watched his disappearing figure and hugged pillow tightly crying. How, she hiccuped. There is no use of crying if you already decided to divorce her. That's your decision, son, he said with coldness. That's not my decision, That's not. I never wanted it. Please don't say it, he muttered. How should I make you understand? How should I make her understand? She could do everything, but she decided to leave me. Yes, I'm at fault. What should I do? I can't change it, right? Then what should I do? He said, crying in yell as his parents watched him. Please make her come back, or else I don't know what I will do, he muttered as he got up, wiping his tears. What will you do, huh? He asked, and he closed his eyes, making feast. If you are thinking to do something wrong, then don't even try. That I'm warning you, Jungkook, he coldly said. If you are thinking to do something like, then remember, everything you dreamed of with her will end then and there only. Then for real you will never able to see her. You can't love her the way you always wanted. His voice broke as his tears slid. Giving up is easy, very easy. I know you didn't give up on her. You didn't want to do it. But you did because you're scared to lose her, he said softly. Your fear is genuine. I'm not denying it, my son. But think once wisely. She is just a naive girl, but you are not. Think wisely. Whatever she did was in emotions, his father said as he looked at him. She gave me a scar for life, Papa. Am I that bad? Will I ever able to heal it? Because whenever I try to talk to her, that one scene come in front of my eyes where I almost lost her. His voice broke as he nodded. Give some time. It will heal eventually, he said, and Jungkook lowered his head and shook grievously. It will not. It will become more worse. I don't know how I will do it, he muttered as he walked, and his parents watched his disappearing figure. Mr. John gulped hard as he felt a hand on his shoulder as he looked, and his wife looked at him teary-eyed. I can't see him like that, she muttered in tears as he wiped her tears. Do one thing. Please call Ryan. I will talk to her. Please call. I will beg her, she muttered, being anxious as Mr. John pulled her in his embrace. Please call her. I don't want to lose my son. Her voice is panicking as he patted her back. Relax. What if he'll do something? She muttered, and Mr. John kissed her back. He will not. Calm down. He desperately searched for the medicine box. His condition wasn't good. He's making everything miss. He took out a small box as he all looked at the box, clutching tightly, and his breath was uneven. He took out the all pins in his hands as his hands were shaking and his eyes were red, and body is shaking as he is about to. His father's voice echoes in his ears as he dropped on his knees, crying. Can't do it. I can't, he muttered with shaky voice. I want to live all those moments I dreamed of. I want to love you. I want you to love me, he sobbed as he threw all of the medicine. I'm going crazy. I need you now. I need you so badly, he mumbled as his lips were shaking. I need you, Ryan. Why is that so easy for you than me, he mumbled. Why you made me feel disgusted of myself? Why you made me hate me? Why you made me so miserable? He cried as he took one medicine and gulped it with water. He got up like as if he has no energy in his body and dropped himself on bed. What if I couldn't save you that day? He muttered as his vision getting blurry slowly. I will not able to forgive myself. I will never. If I lose you forever because of me. Remember being hazy. I know you are not with me, but being distant with you and realizing still they're alive is a bit better, even if I'm dying inside out. He mumbled as his eyes closed. But if you come back to me still, if you'll ask me to come back to you, I won't hesitate. I need your permission to make any move. He mumbled, being tired as getting unconscious slowly due to medicine. I'm ready to win your heart. I'm ready to make you fall in love with me. But for once, say you're giving me a chance. Give me a chance, please. Please, love. I'm so happy to see you after a long time. She said, hugging her as Vine smiled. I see how much happy. She mumbled as she broke the hug. I'm sorry I couldn't attend your wedding, she said, and Vine looked down. When I landed here, straight come to you. She muttered, and Vine forced herself to smile. At least show me your wedding pictures. I want to see your husband. Who's that lucky guy? Who got this college heartthrob? She said, smiling, nudging her elbow. Well, Vine didn't say anything. Is everything alright, Vine? She asked, and Vine looked at smiling. Yes, as she looked at her with curiosity. Are you sure? She nodded, and she smiled. I don't have in my phone actually. I'm at Opa's house, so I don't have her wedding album too. She mumbled, not knowing what to say. Are you serious, Vine? You don't have your wedding pictures? He said, being surprised, and Vine bit her lips. It's okay, ask your hubby. He'll share to you. I want to see you in wedding gown. She said, being excited, and she doesn't know what to say. Come on, Vine, be quick, she said, as Vine took her phone, slowly glancing at her. She hesitated a bit as she opened Jungkook's contact, and her eyes swelled. And she saw their wedding picture on his profile. His lips trembled with pain and eyes shimmered with tears. But somehow she managed to hide them. He must be busy. She speaks and I gave her a look. But this is for now. She mumbled, showing her phone as she excitedly looked. Wow, you both look so pretty. I'm crying, so adorable, she said, eyeing at the picture, and Vine smiled. She looked at the ring in her finger, which is still there, and making face, she looked at her, managing to smile. Wow, now this is called love. See, he has wedding picture as his profile photo, but you don't have your wedding pictures in your phone, she said. I can see in his eyes he's in love with you so deeply, she muttered, adoring the photo, and she bit her lips. This isn't look arranged marriage at all, she mumbled, and Vine just listened. Hyung, where are you going? He asked as he started walking outside. Jungkook looked at him with cold look on his face. Office. He replied coldly, he's about to walk. Hyung, you can rest at home for office work. Me and Dad is here to handle. Suvin said, and Jungkook looked at him. I don't need rest, I'm okay, he said, and Suvin got up. Hyung, I want you to be okay, don't be like this, he softly said, and Jungkook sighed. I'm sorry, Suvin. I'm sorry for inconvenience you faced because of me, he said, looking at his family, and they shook their head. Hyung, why are you talking like that? You don't have any idea how happy we are seeing you here. Don't think like that, he muttered, and Jungkook just nodded. Still, he muttered, and Subin hugged him. Please be happy again, everything will be alright, he muttered. Why you look so nervous? We are meeting our college friends only, she said, and Vine stared at her. They planned when they got to know I'm coming back, she said. Still, I'm not feeling like know why. You have to come. Do one thing. Call your hubby as well. Most of them coming with their partners, he said, and Ryan looked at her. Come now, Ian. We'll all have fun, she said when Jen came. Will you want to take her? He asked and she looked. We have reunion lunch, so I'm asking her to come. She said and Jen looked at her. You should go, he said, and she opened her mouth to say something. But see, now your brother said you're coming then, she said, and Jen smiled looking at Ryan. Okay. You always come up with great plans, Mr. John. He said and Jungkook just listened to them as his colleagues looked at him. Jaehoon stared at him as he kept silent and so he decided to speak, breaking the awkward silence, understanding his situation. That's why he is a great leader. I guess his great legacy kept many of us keep going and make client to trust on us. He said smiling and then clients nodded. That's why I've been working with Jungkook for a long time. But eventually what happened in last few days we are aware of it. Even those who are proved later, it was a huge impact on your business, isn't it, Mr. John? Other client said and Jungkook stared at him. For that I would say it was his personal matter, but since it came out like that, we shouldn't ignore it, but we should keep that in mind as well, that ups and downs comes in every person's life. But what matters is that he proved innocent. It was a misunderstanding, he defended. Also, it won't take time to recover all the losses, isn't it? I think it's not happening for the first time, he said. That's right, but if it was a personal matter, it should have been kept it private. I heard about your wife, Mr. John. It's quite strange you just got married and in a month you got a huge allegation. Jungkook made free. Mark, why are we discussing his personal matter? It's not professional, don't you think? He interrupts. It's not personal since it is all over the business channel. Mr. John, I should not say this, but you're a great man, dude. You should have been careful while getting married because these kind of women trap rich person like. That's enough, Mark. I think you are crossing your personal and professional boundaries. You are one of my investor only. I didn't give you right to point finger on my wife. He finally spoke, getting up. You want to go back out like others? You are most welcome. The exit is there. Jungkook. He stopped him, showing the palm. My wife is my pride. I'm sorry if you got only awful experiences in life. Please don't see all as same, he said in most professional way, and the client chuckled a bit sarcastically. It's so nice to see you defending your wife, Mr. Jungkook. But whatever I said, what I heard. Whatever is speculating, I think you were not aware of it, he said, and Jungkook looked at his secretary, who immediately looked down. What I heard, I said. I don't have any grudges towards you. I was just saying, seeing previous divorce which has a huge impact of the post days of your behind the bars. Correct me if I am wrong, Mr. Jaehoon, he said while Jaehoon remained silent. I just want to say it. You should have been more careful. Otherwise, I know you from years. That's it, he said, and Jungkook just stared and making face. It's okay, let's not make it a big issue here. Since it's already happened, we can't change. It's better not to discuss it, he said, interrupting while Jungkook looked away. Excuse me, he said, walking as all members in meeting watched him. Harry, come in my cabin, he ordered to his secretary as he nodded, walking behind. All of them watched him as Jimin smiled. Let's have lunch together. He will join us there, Jimin said as they nodded, while Taehyung and Jaehoon walked for Jungkook. Sherry, that's my best friend Ryan. This is Min, Alia, and Rowan and Mivi. She introduces and they all wait, and Ryan felt a bit awkward. It's been a long time since we last seen each other, isn't it? She said, and Ryan nodded. Yeah, we could have get together on Ryan's reception. Sadly, I couldn't make it. She said, smiling and looking at Ryan. Yeah, yes, even me too. She said, and Ryan smiled. That's okay, it's not a problem for me. She said, smiling and then chuckled. You all got invited? Asked me, I didn't even invite it. Still, she hates me that much, he said with a playful grin, and Ryan, idiot, which girl? Invite a man who has one splash on her, huh? He interrupted. Oh, bro, it's in past. Why are you saying this? Alia will beat me up, he nervously said, looking at Alia, who was glaring. Don't worry, God has some other plans. Her husband is really good looking and love her so much, isn't it, Ryan? She looked at them, not knowing what to answer. But where's your husband, Ryan? Ryan told me everyone is coming with their partners, including you. She said, and Ryan smiled forcefully at them. He must be busy. He won't be able to come. She said, I heard you got married to a famous businessman. Is it correct, Ryan? Who is that man, huh? He asked, and she gulped hard before replying. We should enjoy, I think. Why are we talking on this topic? She said, and he gave her a look. At least you can tell us the name. Might be we may know. Come on, babes, tell them. She said, and Ryan took a deep breath. Jungkook. She spoke and Shai choked his drink as Ryan looked at her. Are you okay, baby? She asked, and he wiped his mouth. What did you say, Jungkook? You aren't joking, right? He asked, and Ryan raised brows. Even I heard his name. He was the hot topic in past few days. He said, drinking. He's the king of commercial real estate, he said with shocked face, and Ryan just stared at them. You are correct, she said, assuring them, and Mimi looked at her. You aren't lying, right, Ryan? She answered. Bro, why would she lie? I mean, her father is businessman itself. What's a big deal? He said, defending her. Still, his big name. It's Kinda, she added, and Ryan looked at her. We can have lunch if you're all done with your inquiry, she mumbled, and Ryan smiled. Wine is charming. How can someone not fall for her? She said, squeezing her shoulder as Ryan looked at her. She is. He mumbled, and Alia stomped her foot on his, making him groan. But I would like to meet him, he said, and Ryan looked at her. You can call once. No husband is busy for his wife, Ryan. If you asked, he will definitely come. We all would meet him, like. He said, smiling, and Ryan looked up with stern expression. I'm sorry I won't disturb him, she sternly said in Rowan. Wow, nice. I noticed Ryan getting uncomfortable. Guys, let's stop this topic here. If she doesn't want to, let's not force her. And you came here to meet her or her husband. She's your friend, she said, trying to lighten up the environment, and Ryan just stared at her. Let's order something. What would you like to eat, Ryan? She asked, and Ryan looked at her, maintaining a warm smile. You can order. I'll come back. I'll need to use washroom, she said, and I nodded. Sure, I'll come with you, she said, getting up. It's okay, I'll be back, she said as she walked, and Ryan watched her disappearing figure. She walked in the washroom as she closed her door, taking deep breath as she walked to basin and looked herself in mirror. And who looked slowly helpless as she closed her eyes, staring up, and unknowingly a sob left from her mouth. He was just standing, resting his head on the door, but then his brows twitched, hearing woman's voice. And first he thought he came in wrong washroom, but he checked again, surrounding. But it gave him confirmation that he's in right washroom. He heard low sobs as he slowly opened the door to peek, and the girl's back was facing him, and her head is lowering. Excuse me, ma'am, it's male's washroom. He gently speaks as she wiped her tears, realizing, as she looked around and realized. I'm sorry. she nervously said without looking at his frustration as she is about to walk. Ryan, he mumbled in low voice, and her steps halted and breath hitched as she looked back, and her gaze immediately softened looking at him. She stood there frozen as he slowly took steps forward towards her as he stood in front of her, while she stole glances and he stared her softly. Are you okay? He asked softly as she looked up with mixed emotion and she looked away remaining silent as he sighed. Are you alright? He asked and she looked at him with a rage. How you expect me to be? There's much pain audible in her voice. As he is about to cup her face but his hand stopped in midair as she stared them with anger and pain. I mean, you should be okay, he said, and she looked away as she opened the door walking outside. Fine, he said walking behind. She was walking wiping her tears as he tried to hold her hand but she jerked it as she looked back at him. Why are you disturbing me, Mr. John? I'm not your wife anymore, she said angrily with pain and he stared her right. We are still husband-wife, he whispered and she stared him clenching her jaws as her eyes shimmered with tears. When I signed divorce paper, I claimed that you are not my husband anymore, she said clenching her jaws as his eyes shimmered with tears. You hate me this much? He asked in whisper and she grabbed his collar pulling him closer. Yes, I do. I do hate you. I hate you for being you. Why you didn't let me die there only? Don't you dare, he said covering her mouth. By doing that, what you wanted to prove? You wanted to create hell on the earth for me? Huh? If you hate me that much, you could have just said that I hate you, Jungkook. I don't want to live with you, he said with anger and pain, and she removed his palm. I said that, didn't I? She muttered and he pulled her closer. You did, but you said you love me too, he muttered and she closed her eyes before looking at him. You are a coward. You always been, he bitterly said. You, what you have been trying to do? If you were that strong, you could have faced it all, but you didn't. You chose to back out. You wanted me to suffer alone and give me immense pains for the rest of my life, he bitterly said. You wanted to know, right, why I hated you from beginning? It's because of this thing. I always wanted to go far away from you. But the more I tried to push you away, the more I got close to you and you ended up becoming my biggest weakness. I ended up falling harder for you. You rejected all my love, he said, gritting teeth and her blood boiled. You think you were right what you did. I was wrong. Accept it. Still ready to be on knees for it. But ask yourself, will you forgive me? You won't. I begged there as well. I begged you. You didn't care about anyone. All you did and all your problems, not even thinking what I'll go through. She just listened him with tears. Do you also have any idea what I have gone through in this 1 week? I have gone through hell, Ryan. I couldn't close my eyes for once. I prayed those 12 hours when you were on hospital bed. I yearned for you via one glance. He expressed his pain. But when I saw you, I couldn't hug you. I can't hug you. Can't even take you in my embrace because you don't want me. His throat hurt while her eyes welled up. I can't love you because you don't want it. I fear if I try to come close to you, you might. There is an urgency in his voice as he looked at her. Only one mistake I did is loving you. Maybe I wouldn't be a reason of your unbearable pain. How I wish I never met you. I didn't have to see you go through all that, he lastly said, choking as her tears slid. She slowly pushed him, feeling helpless because he didn't help her. But more he hurted her, as she doesn't know what to say because she is feeling very weak. And Jungkook realized what he said in low. As he tried to touch, but she jerked his hand, and wiping her tears, she walked away as he cursed himself underneath, as he about to follow her. Jungkook, we all have been waiting for you. What are you doing here? He asked, and Jungkook looked at in the direction where she got disappeared. I'll be back, he said, walking from there in rush. Hein looked at Vine, who looks upset as she got up to check on her. When Vine, he came calling her as everyone looked at him. Vine didn't look at him. She held her hand as she looked at him angrily, but remained silent because of surrounding. You didn't tell us, Vine, that you gone to brought your husband, she said as Jungkook's gaze shifts to them finally. Hello, sir, he said, and Jungkook looked at Vine while she held her tears. Even I didn't know, she mumbled, and Hein looked at her cautious. Hey, hi Jungkook, have a seat, she said, and Vine looked at Hein. Can't he have work here? She said, and Jungkook stared at her. No, I'm not busy, he said, looking at her. Vine looked at him, clenching her jaws. Well, hi, nice to meet you, he said, extending his hands while his eyes was locked in her as she gestured him through her gaze. He looked at Rowan, shaking his hand with a small smile. Nice to meet you too, he said with a small smile. Sherry extended his hand for a handshake as he greeted everyone while Vine just watched him as she is about to go to Hyen to sit with her, but he held her wrist as she glared at his hand, then him, and he pleaded with his eyes, knowing as she knows that she can't do anything as she sits next to him. While Jungkook, she told us you are busy and can't join us, she spoke, and he looked at her. I will be never busy for her, he whispered as she stared at him as she looked away, while Han noticed each and every detail. She is just a little upset with me, he speaks, looking at her, who didn't even spare a glance at him. It's clearly visible, she said, smiling, and Jungkook gave her a small smile. So, would you like to drink something? He asked, and Jungkook looked at him. No thanks. And please call me by my name, he said, and Sherry smiled. I've been trying to contact with your company from last 5 years, so it feels so unreal talking to you directly, he said, and Jungkook just smiled. Oh, I didn't know, he said. Yeah, I have my retail business in US, Jungkook nodded. I would definitely look forward then, he said, and Sherry smiled. Thank you so much, he said, and he looked at Vine, who was not looking at him. Why now? Why you look so upset, girl? Smile, she said, and she looked at Vine. I'm not, she replied. Then smile, my girl, he said, and Jungkook looked at him and Vine does too. Oh, Hiro, she's married now, and you're about to. You still not done with her, huh? He said, and Vine glanced at Jungkook, who was looking at him with strange expression. Alessi, already seeing. We'll see him at home, she said, and Min corrected his thought. Baby, I didn't mean that. We'll talk at home. She cut some off while Rowan chuckled. Leave my hand, she whispered, and he looked at her as she tried to loosen the grip, but he put his other hand on hers. Not again, he whispered back, and she made his feast in his looking away. I'm sorry, he whispered, and she looked at him with so much emotion as she glanced at her friends. I don't want to talk to you, she whispered back, and he nodded. I know, he murmured, looking in her eyes. Okay, let's order some drinks, she said. Jungkook, what would you like to drink? She asked, and he looked at her. Sorry, I don't drink, she raised brows. To my surprise, wow, she said as his all focused on wine only. Where you found him, Vine? She asked, and Vine looked at her as Jungkook's gaze shifts to her. I found her, he replied instead, and she feels so twisted by her emotions. I was the one who found her, and I'm happy to have her in my life. I'm blessed I met her, he added, and they smiled, looking at them as Ryan stared him unbelievable. Because he's the one who said those bitter words to her. Now seeing him flipping so fast, making her insanely mad at him, that she could yell at him any time, but she can't. Jungkook, as all of them looked up. Hi, Ryan. He greeted her as his gaze shifted back to Jungkook. Can you please come? We are in mid of the conversation with our clients. He said, and Jungkook bit his lips. I'm sorry, Ryan. We have came here for some business reasons, and then we have site visit too. He spoke and she looked at him. You go, I'll come, he said. Go with him. She ordered him when everyone looked at her, including Jungkook. But come with me, she said, getting up, holding his hand as he followed her, and Yunwoo massaged his temple. Ryan, you won't speak unless I ask you to, she said, pointing finger at him, and he just listened like a obedient kid. Go to your work. Why you came here? And don't you dare to come back to me. I have listened to you a lot, and now I don't want to hear you not a single word. She said with so much emotion, and he just stared at her. Just leave me alone. Leave me alone. I don't want to see your face now, she said, and he pleaded. Please. Why you didn't think this when you were filing divorce? Why all this drama now? I have nothing to say to you now, she said, and he held her shoulder. You asked for it. If you have been difficulty to submit those papers, give it to me, I will do it, she said, and he looked at her with pain. Now no more drama. I am tired of this. Let me be myself for a while, she said, and he loosened her shoulder as he stared at her. I will wait for you. Don't wait for me, she replied. Leave me alone. I can't leave you alone. Don't worry, I'm not doing anything. Because she breathed. Because you won't let me die too. Because you bought me. Why you talk like that always? He asked, and she took his hand in which he has his wedding ring and looked at him. Because you don't know the meaning of wedding, vows, and love. You think you can buy them with your money, she said, kissing his ring, and he stared at her. Just go. Why? I said go for now, Jungkook. I don't have much energy, she said, cutting him off as he took a deep breath as she leaves his hands and looked up. While he stared at her for a while, but suddenly he hugged her, making her shut her eyes, and he hugged her like a baby, as if his life depends on her, while her tears slid slowly, melting in his arms. Please give me one last chance, I beg you. I promise you won't regret, he pleaded, and she shut her eyes. My arms are always open for you. If you come now, today, tomorrow, or years later, I will be always welcome you with open arms, he said, and she sniffed as her hand slowly reached to hug him back. He nodded as he slowly walked while he took one last glance of her, but she didn't spare a glance at him, and he walked helplessly. Unless you realize your mistake, there is no use of this. Everyone left, and she was sitting there for hours because her thoughts were eating her up. She couldn't stop thinking since then. Hyen asked her to come with her, but she denied, and she rested her head on table drinking and made invisible circles on glass. Yes, can't live without you. I can't, she mumbled, feeling easy. I want to live with you, but I realized still now. Just don't want you to break my heart, she mumbled, pouting. I love you. Yes, I do love you. I love you a lot, she murmured as she said. You are a selfish creature, she muttered and chuckled a little. Today I will talk to you, and you will listen. You will listen to me. It's been a lot, she mumbled, getting up. When her phone rings, as she looked at the caller ID, it's her brother, and she picking up. Yes, Papa. She tried to speak in decent tone. Where are you, Ryan? I called Hyen. She told me that you are alone. Are you okay? She nodded, smiling. Very much fine. Ryan, are you drunk? He asked, and she shook her head. No, Pa, she said. You are. Don't lie. Are you out of your mind? You are alone, he worriedly said. I'm okay, Oppa, she coughed. Just don't move from there. I'm coming to pick you. He said, no, Oppa, I'm not that much drunk. I'm going back to him. I need an end now, she mumbled. Where? She hung up the call. Aish, this girl. What should I do? He mumbled worriedly. She walked outside somehow with her wobbly legs as she barely could stand properly and constantly mumbling, coming to you, world egg, and I will see you. How are you going to handle it? But you have to listen me today. I have been enough of you, she mumbled, walking. She was walking with her wobbly legs when she stumbled, but someone catch her by her shoulder. As she looked at him with blurry vision, and slowly her eyes got clear vision of him as her drunk one matched the worried and concerned ones, and she giggled looking at him, while he held her properly in between his arms as she just stared at him. You are unbelievable, he mumbled worriedly as he tried to make her stand properly. Well, Deck, she mumbled as he looked at her with mixed emotion, gulping while she was smiling. You were very stubborn, right? I told you to go, she mumbled in drunken voice, and he wiped her face. I can't trust you now. She slapped him in tiny, and he gives her a look as she was smiling way too much. Someone told you you're crazy? She mumbled, and he nodded. Many times, this girl in front of me, he whispered back with stern expression on his face while she chuckled. You don't listen to me anyways. Other than me, she mumbled, kissing her cheeks. No, I never got time to look at anyone. He replied with serious expression, and she laughed him, pushing away. I know how many girls you have looked at me before. Nova, your college crush, I forgot her name, who was she? She said, thinking, and he pulled. Not in that way, he replied, and she squinted her eyes. You don't feel ashamed of lying out. You didn't tell me Nova was your first fiancé, she said, squinting brows, and his expression remains unchanged. Tell, isn't she was? He nodded. She was, he replied, and she put hand on her waist, making pout. Why you broke that engagement then? She asked, and he rolled his eyes. We were not engaged. Her marriage got fixed with me. I broke that because I didn't want to marry her. She laughed maniacally, and Jungkook stared at her in surprise. Why you didn't marry her, huh? When she is supposed to marry you, right? You didn't meet me that time. He rolled his eyes at her question. Because I didn't want to, he replied, and she laughed out loud while he looked at surroundings. I tell you why you didn't marry her, she said, controlling her smile, and he just stared at her. You know why? Because you have to make me crazy. This much crazy that I can't think straight now, she said, controlling her smile, and he stared her eyes. You ever realize how confused you are, man? She mumbled, and he pulled her closer. Should we go home and talk? You're very much drunk, he whispered, and she circled her hands on his back. Will you answer my question there? She asked, and he nodded. Definitely, he replied, and she showed her palm. Promise me, Boldak, what if you flipped again? She muttered, and he rolled his eyes, and she made him look at her. Don't you dare to roll your eyes on me, she said, scrunching her eyes, and he nodded. Okay, boss. She smiled in satisfaction, and he smiled a little, looking at her. Now I'm coming with you, she said, opening the door of car and sitting inside, and he stared at her, scratching his head. That's why I don't trust you with leaving alone, he muttered. I still remember how hard time you have given me last time. He closed the door when she spoke. Where are you taking me? She asked without looking at him, and he looked at her. Where you want me to? He mumbled, and she chuckled a little, looking at him. You can't take me where I want to go. She mumbled, and he stared at her. Because I don't know where I want to go, she muttered, being lost, and he stared at her eyes, who looked so lost. I want to go far away from this pain, and live happily, she muttered, and he just listened. You know what? I told you that I love you, but I can't love you. But the truth is that I can't stop myself from loving you. She mumbled and his eyes smiled. But the problem was that I'm still afraid. I'm still scared of thinking, what if you broke me again? I won't. He immediately responded. Let me speak today, she said, cutting him off. She held his hand and looked at him with sincerity. You know what your problem is? She muttered, playing with his hands. That you think only you get hurt. The other person has no feelings. I don't have feelings. I can't get hurt. That's why you said that all. She muttered and he's about to speak, but she put finger on his lips. If you can speak, then you have to listen me as well. You can't just tell me your pain and blame all alone. You have to listen to me, she said, waking up, and he stared. I accept I hurted you, but what you did is numbness. It was unbearable pain. You don't have idea what I have gone through knowing the truth. You could have loved me. You could have told me that you love me. Can't you say straight that I love you, Ryan? I wasn't the thing you bought me. I was the thing that you bought me, huh? She asked, as much pain audible in her voice. Forgive me for that, he muttered. I forgive you. Now what? She asked and he kissed her cheek. Let me own you. Let me love you. He whispered and she chuckled sadly. I give you this chance to own me. He smiled with tears as he kissed her cheeks, as their eyes locked into each other. There is one thing I'm still stuck on, she mumbled as she hiccuped. What? He asked and she giggled before speaking. Don't make me pregnant. I'm still scared of that. He chuckled with tears. If you say I will spend my whole life without touching you. His reply made her smile faded slowly. They stared at each other for a while when Ryan suddenly pressed her lips on his, making him froze at his spot as she kissed him first this time. He closed his eyes, melting as he pulled her closer and kissed her back. Their blood tangled up and he was waiting for this day for a long time. He slowly tailed from jaw to neck. Ryan clutched him tightly. Then he hugged her. I hope you don't regret meeting me now. He shook his head viciously, snuggling his face in her shoulder. I never did. I'm sorry. He cried silently, hugging her as she hugged him back. I only regret making you suffer. I never wanted to be a reason of your sufferings. He mumbled and she kissed his back. I sincerely apologize to you. He mumbled as she smiled, kissing his shoulder. I'm sorry. Sorry for taking such a stupid step. I'm not weak, she muttered, and he broke the hug. You're not weak. You're really strong, he said, kissing her cheeks as she just smiled with her drunken eyes. You could have think once before jumping in river for saving. Life is precious, she mumbled. I know, that's why I saved you. She chuckled a bit. Maybe what he was saying I might not remember till tomorrow, she said, chuckling lightly. I will repeat it for you, but I hope you won't forget that you forgave me. She chuckled as she looked at him. I will remember that I kissed you. I can't forget it. I always remember when I kissed you. I remember our first kiss as well, when I was drunk, she said, smiling, making his eyes widen. You do? He asked, being surprised. Yes, I do, she replied without hesitation as she intertwined her hands in his. You are pain and I love hurting myself. Jungkook stared. You're not supposed to say like this, he said, being a bit disappointed as she pulled his cheeks. I said it all in once. I'm ready for this. Maybe tomorrow I will be angry on you again, then you have to handle her because now I'm not in my senses. So she will be. You have to deal with her, she said, smiling, and he smiled, pressing his lips on her. I'll handle my wife. I know how to handle her. My wife loves me so much. She won't resist me. he said, smiling, and she chuckled a little as she is feeling her eyes heavy. Take me to safe place, I'm sleepy, she muttered, and he opened his arms. Sleep then. You don't have to worry about anything as long as you're with me, he said, and she shifts to his left, hugging him. Still love my ass? She asked, hugging him like a. They are ocean. I feel lost every time I look at them. I'm glad they finally met mine, he said, softly kissing her back as she murmured, and he eyed on her. What I have done with you? Silly, forgive me, it's like I won life. I will make sure you give the happiness you deserve, he mumbled, peeking at her as she slowly drifted into sleep. He pecked her cheeks, resting his head on hers. I will do everything. I'll never give you a chance to fight with me, he muttered, interlocking his hands in hers. If ever something like that happened, I will make sure to apologize first. He took his vows. I promise myself that I will never let any single tear come from these pretty eyes, he muttered. From now onwards, to every life in every universe, I will love you. I will protect you at any cost, he mumbled, kissing her thing. I will never leave you. I will never leave your side for once. I will heal all those wounds which I give you. I will not let them leave any scar. From today, I will be with you in happiness, and I will never leave your hand in sorrow, he said, pressing his lips together. I promise myself. Lastly, he kissed her hand as alone to escape from his eyes. She squeezed her eyes when sun kissed her face as she yawned and slowly opened her eyes. She stared at the ceiling for a while as she looked around and found herself in no room, but something is different. As she slowly slid herself sitting, but then only something busted, making her flinch as flower petals fell like a rain. As she looked up and a fainter smile formed on her lips, she spread her arms, smiling as she felt happy. She looked around, smiling, searching for a particular figure as she couldn't see him, and she looked curiously when she decided to get off from bed. But her feet touched two soft petals as she looked at floor. It was covered with rose petals. Good morning, my love. It was written with flowers. She covers her mouth and she looked around. She smiled, shaking her head as she gets up. She slowly stepped down upstairs, looking whole house curiously, which is decorated like it's their kind of function or something. But there is no one. The house was quiet as she was walking down, peeking here and there, and her foot got tripped on last stair. Before she could balance herself, someone caught her. Hyung, he faced palm suns. What, you wanted Sunny to fall? Subin gave him a look. She won't. While his eyes met hers, as their soft smile tugged on his lips, while she looked at him nervous. Walk carefully, my love, he whispered, smiling as he made her stand while she still glances. Don't know why she was feeling suddenly all of a shy. When they popped up confetti, making her flinch, and he admired her with a smile as she looked like a curious kid. Welcome home, they shouted in happiness as Ryan looked at them, and a smile appeared on her face as she looked all of them. Mr. John and Mr. John, everyone was there. Well, Minnie and Subin was there on their knees with a rose, and she smiled happily, and Jungkook gave them a look which Subin noticed. What? Don't look at us like that. This is supposed to be you, but you ruined the plant, he said, and Mr. John chuckled and Mr. John smiled as Vine looked at Jungkook, who was glaring at them. She took flower from Minnie as she is about to take from Subin, but he caught up. Youngsun, I brought it to make you wear. She smiled, frowning. Can I? He said teasingly, side-eyeing on Jungkook, as Vine does too, and pressing her lips. Sure, she replied as she eyed on Jungkook, who was crunching his eyes looking at her, and she pressed her lips to control her smile. Thank you. she said as he fixed a rose in her hair, and Soban smiled. Welcome home. Our house is incomplete without you, he said, giving her a warm smile. Oh ho, move aside. It's Opa's turn, not you. Soban passed a playful grin to his brother. Go ahead, Young. You might be desperate, he said teasingly, and a tint appeared on her cheeks. Jungkook slowly walked near her. With every step, her heart raced when he took a huge bouquet, while she struggled to make eye contact with him, as his gaze was intimidating her when he kneeled as she finally looked at him. Welcome home, he whispered, extending bouquet to her as she played her fingers, and he noticed. He noticed that she is nervous, and he held her wrist, slowly pulling her closer as he made her sit on his thigh, making her eyes wide as she looked around. They cheered. Don't be shy, my love. When you're shy, it makes you more beautiful, he whispered. What are you doing? She whispered, and he kissed her cheeks. What I should have done earlier, he muttered as she glanced at his parents. Everyone is looking at us, she mumbled to him. Let it be. They wanted us to like this from a long time, he mumbled, and she gave him a look while he chuckled as he leaves her. She is feeling shy, guys. I think I can't continue here, he said, and wide as Jungkook. And he chuckled, looking at her as he got up and kissed her forehead. I love you. I hope you remember everything. She looked at him. What if I say I don't? She replied in a teasing smile, and he squinted his eyes. Then for that I have to take you in my room to make you remember everything, he whispered, winking at her, and she punched his shoulder. Shameless, she muttered, and Mr. John cleared his throat. If you are done, then let us talk to with our daughter-in-law, he said, and Wayne looked at them. Sure, he moved aside when his parents walked near her. Happy to see you back. God bless you, he said, kissing her head, and she nodded. Welcome home. When her gaze shifted to Mrs. John, and she hugged her, as Wayne looked at Jungkook, who was smiling. Forgive me for everything I did. Happy to see you back, she muttered, and she broke the hug and looked at her. I was wrong. I hope you can forgive me. Wayne nodded with an overwhelming smile as she hugged her, and Mrs. John closed her eyes. Stay blessed always, she muttered. Thank you. Jungkook smiled as they broke the hug, and Mrs. John kissed her head. I hope you all are done. Can I take my wife now? He asked. No, there is a lot left. We will dance together, she immediately responded, making Wayne chuckle as he gave her a look. We have cake for you as well, she said as Wayne nodded with a smile, and Jungkook sighed, walking to her. My wife, and I can't spend time with her. Wah, he mumbled, and Wayne looked at him. It's okay, we have whole life to spend time together. And I'm not running, she replied, giggling, and Jungkook looked at her. I won't let you, he said, holding her hand, and there was a sincerity in his eyes. Even if you won't, I won't let you this time, he mumbled, and she entwined her hand in his. Don't let me, she replied, and he hugged her. I have got you after a lot of hard work. Now I can't lose you, he whispered as he broke the hug and looked at her. I'm sorry all. I can't wait, I have a lot to talk to her, he said, picking her in his arms as she gasped. Jungkook, can't stay away from you for a second. You're my need now. I need you so bad, he whispered as he climbed stairs. That is okay, I can walk, she mumbled, and he looked at her eyes. I know, but I want it, he replied, and she just stared at him. I love you, she speaks out of blue, and he smiled. I'm blessed to be loved by you, he mumbled, blushing, and Wayne smiled, looking at him blush as she hugged him. Love you in every universe, she mumbled.